Hello everyone, this is Mr. Informal back with another thoughts, analysis, and rant. So, it seems like this is the season, the month when new camera brands release their new cameras, whether it be for the consumer, the pro, enthusiast, or the professionals. So, let's talk about the recently announced Panasonic Lumix LX100 II. Yes, it is the second generation of the LX100. Wherever you're from, it could be the Mark II, the second edition, the second generation, or I'll just call it 2. So let's get on with the specs as usual. So 17 megapixel sport thirds MOS sensor has a 3 times optical zoom from 24 to 75 millimeter with an aperture of f1.7 to f2.8. So it is not constant, but it is fairly fast. It has electronic viewfinders with 2760 dots. It should have been much better, should have been an upgrade, but I guess not. It has 4K recording of 25 to 30 frames per second. No, I'm sorry, 30 to 24 frames per second, but you know what I mean. So it has built-in Wi-Fi and Bluetooth connectivity. ISO ranges from base 100 to 25,600, and it has a hot shoe if that's something you care. Obviously, it doesn't have a tiltable screen. The screen is fixed, and it basically retains a lot of, things from the LX100, and it can charge via USB. So, what are my thoughts on this camera? I'm just gonna try to make this short. Okay, try. So basically, it is not a huge upgrade. Basically, it's an incremental upgrade. I'm not even entirely sure if there's even a hardware upgrade. I guess this is just more of Panasonic management stating that, oh, we need to get some press, we need to get some marketing, so you know what, let's upgrade the LX100 II by a little bit so we can be on the spotlight. So this is just a brand basically putting something out there so they could, so people in the community would have something to discuss. Now, it's basically one of those, okay, you announced it, it's out my ear, I'm not gonna think anymore. So, let's get into the analysis. Yes, I do know that was a short thoughts, that was my short comment. So, my analysis of this camera is, it's pretty bad. So right now it is, I'm looking at the vhphoto.com, it is $1,000. Now it could increase wherever you're from. Now they probably have 1 to 2 years to make a new development, a new camera for the LX100 or the successor of LX100, a few years, and this is what they can come up with. And if you look at the back of the camera, there could have been enough space for its tiltable screen, or even fully articulated screen. That would be my best way that it should be. Not only that, it seems like they did not upgrade much on the viewfinder. So what is it really that Panasonic released this camera? Honestly, in the whole camera industry, in this whole competition of Sony RX100, this is basically just nothing. Why would you even buy this? It doesn't have a fully articulated screen, it doesn't have a mic input. It should have had a mic input. It has a hot shoe, that's great, but then again, it's big, it's bulky. It's bigger than the RX100. Well, might as well get an RX100 and get it all. So I feel sorry for this camera. If this camera was a human, I actually feel sorry that it was brought out to the world, because there's really nothing much to say about this camera. Now, I'm not gonna fault the camera, but I will fault Panasonic here. It's camera division. Why would you put something out knowing that there's no major upgrade? Why? I mean, you had a few years to basically research and develop a new upgrade, and yet this is what you come up with. You can tell that Panasonic does not really care about this model anymore. All they care about is their GH5, their GX line. That's it. I mean, in the scheme of things, Panasonic is just trying to be relevant, and that's it. So this is where my rant is going to be at. So number one, there's no mic jack input. Number two, there is no fully articulated screen. Number three, why not just, why don't you just make it a constant aperture? If you made it a constant aperture, then you could have justified the $1,000 price. Not only that, people would be much more interested in this than the Sony RX100. So not only that, 4K video recording, why don't you also add 60 frames per second? But then again, this is more of a camera driven device, which means that it's mainly for photography purposes. But then again, you would just rather go to the RX100, or you know what, screw this camera and just get yourself a smartphone. I mean, I don't know how else to defend this camera. I mean, yeah, f1.7 to f2.8, but then again, it's bigger than a mobile device, and it's bigger than the RX100, and it's $1,000 price. If it was $600, then yeah, I would. This would be an attractive piece of tech, but it's not. So I'm sure there's gonna be people that will buy it because they'll probably just like it. But in the whole scheme of things, should you even buy this camera? What will convince you to buy this camera? There's really nothing for me to be convinced, because I don't really understand why camera brands always does this. Why? You have so much time to do research and development, and yet this is the best you can come up with. It is absolutely mental. Am I saying that this should fail? Well, no. As a consumer and as a brand who's a fan of Panasonic, they should not do research and development. But should this particular model fail? Yes, just so Panasonic can see what happened, and hopefully it will motivate them to do something great. And so that is basically my thoughts, analysis of the Panasonic LX100 second generation or Mark II. It is not a sexy device. It is not even worth paying. It is really not worth taking a look at. So what is it really worth for? I don't know. Do you have the answer? If you do have the answer, let me know down in the comments below. And if you really do have an answer, what I would say is that, why don't you just get the first generation of LX100? Or maybe you could just get the previous generation of RX100. It's really hard to justify this camera. And so I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.